Hello everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic in English grammar. It is something that can sometimes feel a little tricky, but I promise we will break it down together. We are going to talk about sentence voice. What does that mean? Well, the voice of a sentence tells us who or what is doing the action. It helps us understand the focus of the sentence. Is the focus on the person doing the action, or is it on the person or thing receiving the action? This is the key difference we will explore today, and it is the difference between active voice and passive voice. Think of it like a story. In every story, there is an action, something that happens, and there is usually someone who performs that action. The voice of the sentence is like the director of a movie. The director decides which character gets the spotlight. Sometimes the director wants to focus on the hero who is performing all the amazing feats. Other times, the director might want to focus on the result of those feats. In English grammar, we have a similar choice. We can choose to highlight the doer of the action, or we can choose to highlight the receiver of the action. The goal today is to make you feel comfortable and confident with this part of English. Starting with the voice you already use most of the time, the active voice. Then, we will carefully move into understanding the passive voice. First, let's talk about the active voice. This is the voice you use most often in your daily conversations. It is the most common and direct way to form a sentence in English. In an active sentence, the subject performs the action of the verb. The subject is the doer. It is the hero of our sentence, the one making things happen. The structure is very clear and straightforward. Subject, verb, object. The subject does the action to the object. The boy kicks the ball. Who is doing the kicking? The boy. What is he doing? Kicking. What is he kicking? The ball. Maria wrote a letter. Who did the action? Maria. The chef cooks the meal. Who is the doer? The chef. The cat chased the mouse. Who did the chasing? The cat. In all of these sentences, the subject is the star of the show. We know exactly who is responsible for the action. This is why we call it the active voice. Now let's turn our attention to the passive voice. If the active voice puts the spotlight on the doer of the action, the passive voice does the opposite. It puts the spotlight on the receiver of the action. In a passive sentence, the subject is the one the action is done to. It is not the one doing the action. This is a really important shift. We are changing the focus. We make the object of the active sentence into the subject of the passive sentence. That's why it's called passive. The subject is just receiving the action. Let's go back to our first example. The boy kicks the ball. In that active sentence, the boy is the subject. The ball is the object. To make it passive, we make the ball the new subject. We want the focus on the ball. New sentence. The ball is kicked by the boy. Do you see what happened? The ball is now the subject, but it isn't doing the kicking. The kicking happens to it. The ball passively receives the kick. Focus shifted from the boy to the ball. This shift in focus is the point of passive voice. We change what's most important in the sentence. Now the letter is the star. Let's learn the recipe for making passive sentences. It is a formula, and once you learn it, you can apply it to many different situations. The main ingredients for the passive voice are a form of the verb to be and the past participle of the main verb. The past participle is the third form of a verb, spoken, eaten, seen for regular verbs. It is usually the same as the simple past form, ending in ed. Let's start with the simple present tense. The formula is subject plus am is our plus past participle. Active. The chef cooks the food. The food is the object. We make it the new subject. The food is singular, so we use is. Passive. The food is cooked by the chef. Now, let's look at the simple past tense. The idea is exactly the same, but we change our to be verb to its past tense form. Was were example? Maria wrote a letter. Passive. A letter was written by Maria. See how the formula works? It is very consistent. We have mastered the present and the past, so let's look to the future. Forming the passive voice in the future tense is just as straightforward. We just need to adjust our to be verb to show that the action has not happened yet. The most common way to talk about the future is with will, and it is very easy to use in the passive. The formula is subject will be past participle notice that be does not change. The company will hire a new manager. To make this passive, we focus on a new manager. Then we add our future passive formula, will be. The past participle of hire is hired. A new manager will be hired by the company. Another way to talk about the future is with be going to. We can use this in the passive voice as well. The formula is just a little longer, going to be. The company is going to hire a new manager. A new manager is going to be hired by the company. So we know what the passive voice is and we know how to form it. But the big question is, when should we actually use it? Using the passive voice at the right time is a sign of a more advanced English speaker. The first and most common reason to use it is when the doer of the action is unknown, unimportant, obvious. For example, if your wallet is gone, you might say, "My wallet was stolen." You use the passive voice because you do not know who stole it. The focus is on the fact that your wallet is missing. Another example is when the doer is unimportant or obvious. In a factory, a supervisor might say, "The windows are cleaned every Friday." It is not important who cleans them. The important information is the action itself. The windows get cleaned. The doer is not the focus. A second important use of the passive voice is to sound more objective and formal. This is very common in scientific, technical, and academic writing. When scientists write reports, they want to focus on the experiment and the results, not on themselves. So instead of writing, "I mixed the two chemicals," they will write, "The two chemicals were mixed." This removes the personal element and makes the statement sound more scientific and objective. It puts the focus on the process, which is what science is all about. To really feel the difference between active and passive voice, let's put them side by side. Seeing them together helps to make the contrast very clear. Remember, it is all about focus. The active voice focuses on the doer. The passive voice focuses on the receiver. Imagine a dog bit a mailman. In the active voice, we would say, "A dog bit the mailman." The focus is on the dog and what it did. Now let's describe the same event using the passive voice. We want to shift the focus to the person who was hurt. Our new subject is the mailman. Using our past passive formula, the sentence becomes, "The mailman was bitten by a dog." Can you feel the difference? Now our sympathy and attention are on the mailman. The dog is mentioned at the end, but it is less important. The mailman was bitten, making the mailman the complete focus. As you start to use the passive voice more, there are a few common mistakes that many English learners make. The biggest mistake is forgetting the to-be verb. For example, "The car stolen yesterday." This is incorrect. Correct. The car was stolen yesterday. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let's quickly review the key points about the passive voice. First, remember that voice is all about focus. Second, the magic formula for the passive voice is simple and consistent. To be plus past participle third. We should use the passive voice for specific reasons. Now it is your turn to practice. The best way to learn grammar is by using it. Quiz, your turn. 1. The chef prepares the meals. Change to present passive. Thank you so much for joining me today to learn about the passive voice. Happy studies.